Welcome to the Opal Foundation series. At Opal, we're fortunate to work with some of the most exceptional brands in the world. In this series, we bring you lessons learned from the front lines by extraordinary storytellers. In this 4-chapter episode, Creativity in Storytelling, we welcome Ashley Edwards, Communications Manager for Human Exploration and Operations at NASA.
Okay, Ashley, here we are in chapter 2. So in chapter 1, we identified the value of our brand. What's next?
Okay, so the next step after really getting to know your brand and taking on the mantle of protector for your brand, then you're going to be asked to either sell something or produce something or get some sort of product that's underneath that brand out into the world. So first of all, it has to align with the brand. But second, and this is the next part of the strategy, is figure out exactly what it is about that thing that you're trying to sell or communicate that is its core piece of information. I call it the nugget of truth. Sometimes it's stripping back everything about this product, about this idea. It's like, so for me, and I'm trying to talk in terms of product because I know that's what a lot of the people who are out there are thinking about. But from a NASA perspective, I think about it in terms of like a mission or a spacecraft or something that we're working on. So what do I want people to know about it? And you start with like, okay, these are the specs on this thing, right? It could be hundreds of pages. It's very complicated. It's orbital, dynamics and trajectories and it's very complicated. Okay, but that's not what I want to tell people. Let's roll it back, and then so you keep rolling it back and you keep asking, but what do I want to tell people about that? But what do I want to tell people about that? And there's this process of getting down to what's the one thing that if I had 2 minutes or less, probably much less, to tell somebody about this thing, what is it? And it's not just a definition of the thing, it's the why of that thing. That's the nugget of truth, is the why are we doing this? Why does it matter? Why spacecraft? Why space flight? Why any of it? Why exploration? Why? And I'm not saying start every story from that original nugget of truth, but know that nugget of truth. Know it in your head that it's kind of like the source of the river. All things flow from about that particular product. I mean, all things flow from your brand, but about that particular product, all things flow for why does that product exist. My personal rule of thumb is don't stop until you've got something that actually matters to you. Like, to me, I keep asking that question. I'm like, yeah, that's nice. Okay, well, that's a good answer. Okay, well, I understand that. But then when you finally get to that point, that's like, oh, that's why they did that. Because you're a person too, you're a consumer as well. And so when you get to the point where it actually impacts you, that's like, holy cow, I didn't realize that's why we set up our company. I didn't realize that was the point of this product. And then test it, try it on a few other people. Hey, did you know such and such was because of this? Oh gosh, no, I didn't hear that story. It's like when it's a story that becomes a human interest story, that becomes this is why this thing exists. You're getting down to the nugget of truth. That's really where the value of knowing the core thing you're trying to communicate. It keeps you focused. It keeps your team focused. It keeps you from having what I call scope creep, where it's just like new interesting things keep showing up at your door and knocking on it and saying, hey, I'd like to be a part of your party. And you're like, no, you're not invited, and that's, it helps with discipline.
Now, Ashley, to build on that, How does a progressive marketer ensure that they can tell a story that people connect with that doesn't lose sight of that nugget of truth you were just talking about? I guess more simply put, how do they ensure that it feels personal?
To make things personal, first of all, in my experience, you actually have to use people. People tell people stories. Objects don't tell people stories. And even when all we have is an object, like when we have a Mars rover or we have just an object, a lot of times you'll see on social media that we try and like anthropomorphize it. We make the rover have its own voice, or we will, speak on behalf of it. And it's because you want to have that kind of connection. So you've got to personalize it, and that's the key to telling a good story as well. You have to ask yourself the question, why should people care? Why do they care? It's the difference between talking, with somebody and talking at somebody. If you don't understand, and the way I look at it as well is, if I don't care, why should you care? So I make sure that I care about the product. I make sure that I care about the story. I make sure, and it's maybe a little bit selfish, but if I'm the one that's investing all of my time working on this thing, I need to be invested. And so I think the first step with regard to the personalization of your stories is make sure you're invested. Find a way to get invested. Find a way to care. So you really have to dig deep. What is it about this thing that I care about? And when you do that, then you have a better chance of reaching somebody else. Well, I think that you're going to have a much easier time spending your time working on something if you do care about it. So I highly encourage finding a way. Some of the ways that I have found ways, and I do think that there is always an opportunity to care about something, and is, find out about the people who are making it. Maybe you care about the product because you care about the people who are building it. Find a way to figure out who it's impacted. Like, I don't necessarily care about this product, but it did something amazing and wonderful for this other person. So I care about this product because of what it did for somebody else. First of all, if you've got a product that you don't care about and nobody else in the world cares about, God bless you. You're not going to have a good time with that, probably. There's got to be something about it that can make you wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to sell this thing, or I want to communicate about this thing, and make that connection point to somebody else who needs it. It's a supply and demand. It's economics, right? And so, find a way to care about it.
Thank you for engaging with the Opal Foundation series. For more chapters from this episode and other inspiring stories from the world's best marketing and communications professionals, visit workwithopal.com.